Hey guys, what's up? Hope everybody's having a good day out there today, and welcome back here to another edition of the Fishing Teacher. Today we're going to be talking about jig heads, guys. I'm going to give you guys sort of a foundational tutorial on everything you need to know about jig heads. We're not going to dive into a tremendous detail, but I'm going to sort of skim the surface a little bit and give you guys a good understanding if you don't know much about them, because not every jig head is created the same. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Anyway, guys, let's talk about this one here. This is the Megabass Okashira jig head. This is my favorite. And also, guys, you guys can get these at Bait Works in Springfield, Missouri here. I'll put the link in the description. If you guys use that link, it's a good way to support the channel here. But this right here, guys, is a prime example of the type of jig head that you want to use. And I'm going to explain to you why that is, because not all of them are created equal. And as far as the number of bites that you get and the number of hookups you eventually get once you do get a fish to bite, it varies greatly with the design of the jig head. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the Okashira. It's got the fish head on. It's got the fish head design on it, which in my opinion is critical. A lot of the jig heads that you have out there, they have a round ball head, and those are okay. I mean, they're serviceable, they work. But when you have a fish head design like this, you got a more aerodynamic shape, and it tends to let the bait run completely straight through the water. A lot of times on a ball head, it'll run off to the side just a little bit if you don't have it rigged perfect. But this fish head design really streamlines and gets that bait to run straight. On top of that, just look at the natural eyes, the natural fish head. So it's just a visual strike attractant there. The next thing that's important on a jig head, guys, is you have to have a good keeper. See that little keeper sticking out halfway in there right there? This right here, this keeper is super, super critical, because what it does is most soft plastics or worms that you put on a jig head, they're impregnated with salt to some extent, and that salt makes the bait tear up real easy. And if you don't have a keeper on here, it's constantly going to be sliding down the shank of this hook. And now you can take and put super glue on it, but that's a mess, and you have the smell of the super glue. But that's another thing I like about this Okashira head, is this keeper here. Once you put it up on there, it locks it into place, and a fish can't pull it down. Another thing here with the jig head, guys, you want to make sure you have the right hook diameter and bite gap. And what I mean by this, a pin here to point out here. What I mean by this is the bite, I got a little pin here, is the bite gap is the distance between the top of the hook and the bottom of the hook. Now, you don't want a bite gap that's too small or too little, because if it's too little, you're not going to have enough hook to hook the fish. If it's too big, it's going to be obtrusive, and it's going to cost you bites from a visual strike attractant. So that's really why I like this distance here on this Okashira head. It's about perfect. Another thing is the diameter of the hook, the diameter of the wire, because if you have a hook that the wire is a little bit too small on it, your hook's going to be it's going to flex too much and it's going to bend out. But if it's too thick and too large, again, it's going to take away from the strikes. It's just added hardware you don't need. So this is like perfect on here. And also this has got a nano coat on here. This nano coat, super slick, needle point. This is just, like I said, the best jig head that I've ever seen with that. But the main thing about jig heads, guys, is there's a lot of different components to it. And that head and the keeper are the primary ones. Now let's talk a little bit about weight on them. Jig heads come in a wide variety of different weights based upon what you want to put on them. Most of the time, I like an 1/8 ounce head. This is an 1/8 ounce right here, because when I'm fishing a jig head, most of the time, it's on a smaller swim bait. It's on like a 2 to 3 inch long swim bait, which is my favorite. I think you're going to find out if you stay in that 2 to 3 inch zone, you get a lot more bites on a swim bait. And an 1/8 ounce head, I really like the way it falls, yet it's heavy enough to cast at a good distance. Now, if it's really windy out, or if you need to fish deeper, say for example, you think the fish are in 20 foot of water and you've got a 15 mile an hour wind, you may have to go up to a 3/16 or a 1/4 ounce size, just to efficiently get down to those depths there. I usually don't go any lighter than an 1/8, but like I said, I'm going to say during the course of a year, I'll use an 1/8 ounce probably 75% of the time, and then maybe a 3/16 or a 1/4 under those situations that super windy or super deep with that. Colors on your jig heads, I like some type of a shad pattern color on there. And a matter of fact, I've caught just as many guys. If you beat the paint off of these, which are hard to beat them off the Megabass, just the lead on there is pretty attractive too. You want some type of a shady, shiny type head color, unless you're using possibly a red one. Now I've caught quite a few on red, and sometimes I'll take and I'll paint the head of my jig head red with red fingernail polish, especially if I'm fishing for smallmouth bass. That seems to be a pretty big attractor with it. But basically, guys, I just wanted to give a short video here, sort of an introduction. If you're not familiar with jig heads, that's sort of what I look for. Again, I'll put that Baitworks link in the description, link it straight to the Okashira head. You guys can try it out. But anyway, I hope it helps out, and we'll do more stuff on jig heads in the future. So we'll talk later.